Get louder, get louder. Get louder. There we go. We'll call to order, please. And let's rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you. Welcome to our May board meeting. I'll start the introductions. I am Vince Grant, the guy that bangs things.
Ellen Kearns.
Shirley Chancellor.
Mark Porter.
Ermaine Ellison.
Jim Dittler.
Gracie Wilchy. Amy Savage.
Jamie Vanstra.
Amy Franco. Carrie Harry.
Bill Mueller. Jason Joffrey.
Kathy Becker.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Kathy.
I'm Laura McGeer, teacher consultant for visual care. Sarah Russo, teacher consultant for deaf and hard of hearing.
And Chad Riffle, member of ETA, K-12 ETA, and here for the CTE ASM Tech Principal position.
Okay. Thank you and welcome. And we first want to approve our agenda.
Support.
Jim's motion is just to approve the agenda as presented with Shirley's second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And we have the motion for the consent agenda, which includes payment of bills, minutes of a special and a regular meeting in April, a couple of resignations, and a few grants that add up to some real money.
I'll make that motion as well.
I'll second it.
It also includes a couple of travel requests as well. So, motion by Jim, and support of Ellen to approve the consent agenda. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to Dr. Jeffrey's informational report.
Good evening, everybody, and I apologize for not introducing myself. I missed the cue from Vince to do that. Happy belated Mother's Day to all the moms. I'm a little prejudiced, but I think that's the most important job in the world, so thanks to all of you. And with that, Sarah and Laura are here to give us an update on the really unique and really important services that they provide for our students who are challenged with seeing and hearing. So I'm not sure, Bill, if you have anything that you want to say to introduce them, or which one of them is going to go first, but we are looking forward to it.
Thank you, Dr. J. And yeah, I think you're in for a real treat today. These guys are top notch in their respective professions for the visual impaired and teacher consultant for the deaf and hard of hearing. And they're going to provide a little bit of information about their the students that they work with, and also give an opportunity to maybe experience what it's like.
Yeah, perfect. A lot of us experience that now. Happening to me. All right, so.
All right, here, we're gonna have Tracy get us started here. Thank you.
Yeah, and your shoe pointer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you can
Okay. All right, low incidence populations. I'm Sarah and this is Laura. Okay, so what is low incidence? Obviously, not that many students are deaf and blind, so that's why it's low incidence. Less than 1% of students are deaf and hard of hearing, blind, low vision, or deafblind. So we work with a small population. So now we're gonna have some fun with you guys. And that's where our instructions end, so.
The thing about the low incidence population, we have access to the Michigan Department of Education low incidence outreach community, and they provide for myself and my visually impaired students, we have federal quota funds. So the ESD has been very generous in terms of technology, but all the other stuff that we use, Braille writers, canes, all kinds of developmental things, tactile things to
Large
you know,
print
teach
books.
large print books, Braille books, which we don't really use anymore because now we have technology. You download all that stuff. A lot of money is saved compared to the old days when we used to spend like $12,000 on one geometry book, because a book in Braille turns out to be about 12 volumes because it's long. So anyway, so things are getting really well in terms of the technology and our equipment like that. And so that's why, well, do we have that slide still?
We do, yeah,
Okay.
let's skip to that one actually, and then
Yeah.
we'll do our thing at the
Just so
end.
you know.
Perfect, yeah, this is actually great information. And I was thinking that what you were saying carried so well. So what Laura was saying, Laura, do you want to do that one, your last
Yeah.
one?
So we have a real state-of-the-art Braille note taker. One of our students is using as she learns Braille. She has a degenerative disease, so she's 7th grade now, so probably in her 20s, probably when she's ready to go to college, really smart kid, probably will be needing to make the switch from big magnification technology to Braille. So she's been learning as she stays in the regular curriculum. So I work with her quite a bit, and also orientation mobility, travel with a cane, safe travel.
Yeah.
There are a lot of skills, there are a lot of adaptive skills for the But anyway, so from the ESD, we purchased about $7,000 worth of that. It was end of the year last year as well. And in addition, I ordered about $6,000 in high ticket items from American Printing House for the Line. They lend those to us, and then Dr. J signs a form that says, yeah, if anything happens to them, we'll be responsible and send them back, and blah, blah, blah. So far, so good. We've only had one smashed screen this year, but that does happen a lot, because kids have to take them home with them as well to do their home mother curriculum on them.
Yeah. And then for children with hearing loss, typically we have technology now, microphones that will Bluetooth right to their hearing aids. And the ESD this year purchased $14,000 worth of equipment. ESD purchased that, and we found some funds through COVID, so that's great. So it's great. I feel like our ESD really provides up-to-date technology for students with hearing loss and vision loss. So it's great that they can really access the general ed curriculum, hopefully.
Yes.
Because most of the time they're normal cognitive functioning. So.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have some fun with that.
Oh, and then the other thing is, I mean, not only are we the lowest incidence of special ed population, but most people assume that a student is blind or visually impaired, they can't see anything. Which
Right.
couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, for both vision and hearing loss, there's a spectrum. So some children have a severe loss, some children have a mild, and it affects them all differently. So
Yeah. So some kids are low vision and they can access the curriculum with magnification and different kinds of technology. There's so much out there now, ebooks, all kinds of things. Just figuring out what's right for them is the hardest part. And then the blind kids have, Braille note takers and Braille embossers instead of printers and all kinds of stuff like that. So they are able to function like the other kids do. But so I brought these and I have cleaned them very well, and I have some blindfolds. So I was told I would have 7 members of the board.
if you do
And
not
one
want to
is
participate, you do not have to, but we would like to impair you, if that would be okay. And I'm gonna sign the picture.
She says you're deaf?
Perfect. Okay, this isn't my wheelhouse, but let's see. Oh, these are.
Oh, swell.
I know,
Thanks a lot.
Here, we need some blind.
Okay, this is way something. You're blind. Okay. I don't know what they are, but.
You did? You can see that eye pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, you might do okay.
This one, no.
How are you doing?
Very strange.
Okay,
You had retinitis pigmentosa.
okay, we'll pass out this. Well, first we'll do directions. He's gonna get his first.
Okay.
I know, I thought they might. Let me tell you, wait till they're. Okay, we got,
Okay.
So we're gonna limit.
distract you, Jay. Do you have an extra one?
Oh, yeah. Oh, actually, no.
No, sorry.
Sorry, Dr.
Hey, we'll send a calendar appointment, come to your office. We
That
can do
would
this
be
later.
fun.
Okay.
I thought I did have.
Okay.
There it is.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, you get to be
All right.
totally blind.
All right.
Okay, here we go. All right.
So the idea is to give you a
Don't tell
sense.
them.
Oh, I won't.
Oh, okay.
But I do want to say with those occluders on, that is not a really, you probably feel like you're seeing okay through those.
No.
You don't? Okay, good. So try not to move your eyes. You know, try to move your head and look.
Over here.
There you go. That's a- yeah,
You're learning your vision now.
yeah.
Okay,
All right,
ready?
you go ahead.
Okay, you can, I'm gonna give the directions now.
Okay, okay. Okay. These are carry your directions in braille. Dave, your directions in braille. And carry your directions in braille.
Get one more.
Those of you who can see, you have print directions. Now, if you had your earplugs in, you know, you wouldn't be hearing what we were saying. You'd really be confused.
Yeah.
I can't see anything,
Uh-huh.
but I need my
That's the
glasses.
point. Don't worry, we're not gonna evaluate your work.
Oh, good.
No, we are. They have pass or fail.
Okay.
We're in trouble.
This is serious. You're in school.
Okay,
And everyone else is working faster than you.
So who didn't get one?
You don't have
You got his? Okay. All right, so we're gonna give you just a couple minutes.
Some are doing better than others. Everyone's trying their best.
I was trying.
Are we supposed to open this?
Yeah. we're supposed
That
to
was
open
the
it.
hard part, getting it open.
So if you were in a second, third grade classroom, you would be able to do this in about 2 minutes.
I wouldn't count on it. I quit, okay.
Now, I did hold,
I can't read
if you have some vision, I am holding this up. If
Oh,
you don't
you got
have
it.
vision, you know, I have a
You
thing
can
in
let
my
some
hand.
people feel it.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of waiting to see if anybody thought of that. Can I?
You're good.
I got the package.
No,
open.
it's not.
She got the package.
Now you need to move her paper so she's not as good as you, you know. Slow her down. There you go. You're the naughty classmate.
Actually, it's true.
Okay.
See anything, 'cause my eyes are blurry without my glasses anyway.
So now you have your
Okay, I got the. I got it
Oh,
open.
we've got students doing really good over here.
Really, I can't get it through the-
Can you give me the directions in Spanish, please?
I can't.
That I could, that's what you're. How come I don't have a rope or whatever? It's inside the paper. So however it comes
Oh,
out,
your
it's
friend's
out.
helping you.
That's all I
That
can
was
tell you.
nice of her. They're helping each other.
Oh.
She's doing very well.
Yeah, she's very serious.
Would we hurt you?
Possibly.
No.
Oh, I got it. Oh, boy. Can't get the thing through the tube.
Jamie, I wouldn't. be
Now you can read it. Oh, I can't read it. It's too blurry. I need my glasses. I have to go large jingle bell.
Now, if you need a magnifier, I can run and get one of those for you.
Onto the
See, I have to have my
red board.
glasses to be
Okay,
able to
big
see.
jingle bell.
All right, you can stop. Let's see how, I think she might be the farthest along.
Mm-hmm. So.
They're enjoying themselves.
it- Now, I
All
mean,
right.
just at this point, you can see how the totally blind people are nowhere. They've gotten nowhere because they
Oh, my
have no clue what we were doing, right?
That is.
Are we done?
Yeah.
totally
Yeah,
accurate.
she's doing better. Yes, we're done.
So,
She wants to keep going. She likes the challenge.
I like the challenge. I do, but I don't know what I'm doing. I couldn't read anything. So I
You
can't
gotta
see
tell
it.
him to take his glasses off.
oh, yeah.
Now that I.
You can take your.
All right.
You can take your glasses off.
Okay. I'll grab the
Oh,
large.
okay.
Right
But smart, I
in
know
the
that's
center
not
of the court.
Well, that didn't happen.
But that didn't happen. So we'll put the court ends together and thread the large.
You did good. I think you got the farthest along.
Yeah, I
Look at
couldn't-
you. This is a star student right here.
Oh.
Look at this student.
Oh.
Why can't you all be like her?
Teacher's pet.
I'm trying to be the mean teacher.
She had a hemianopsia, so she had
I
obstructed
didn't
vision
even
just
see the
some
white
places
beads.
and couldn't see.
I couldn't see the.
You have clear vision, right, but through the center.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have kids with.
except I couldn't read this anyway without my glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
That gives you an idea of the different spectrum of, hearing loss and vision loss that we work with. So although that was challenging for the students, it's also challenging for teachers because they're not sure how to teach those students. So that's why our job is important to go in and teach them.
They're pretty much in a panic.
help them.
When they find out they're gonna have a visually impaired kid.
But then they end up feeling better.
It's usually a good
It goes
sign
well.
when they are in a panic, because that means they are taking it seriously. So most of them are very, very, very good with them.
Well, you guys can keep that sheet at home and do it later
Yeah, take your
tonight.
little crafts.
But thank you, and I hope you have a better understanding of what we do. Oh,
Keep it
let's wear the
blindfold.
blindfold.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying with these. Those are so strange.
Oh, yeah, we want Laura's goggles.
Oh, those are that, yeah.
Perfect.
Are there any questions?
This was
Yeah, any
really an
questions?
interesting experiment. Thank you.
Yes, you did take that home.
Well, our time was limited, so we
Yeah.
tried to make it
Yeah, it's interesting.
kind of interesting.
And like I
Okay.
could see a little bit, it's just without my glasses. I couldn't
Yeah.
read it.
Well, are you legally blind without your glasses?
Everything's blurry.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see you, but you
Mhm,
I can't.
mhm.
Okay. All
I would
right.
just say thanks for
Thank you.
providing a little bit of empathy.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's great teaching.
Aw.
Just let us feel it a little bit.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. You guys have a good rest of your meeting. We're gonna head out.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Ready for part two?
Yeah,
I want to
sure.
know if Mark got his notes ready.
Pick up the pieces.
So while everybody's picking up the pieces and thinking a little bit about the demonstration, just a quick update on general fund operating budget resolutions and just a little bit on the state budget, which is really, really high level, but I thought you might be interested in that. First, just, to let you know that all of our boards except for one has unanimously approved the general fund budget, and they do have until June 1st to do that. So we're anticipating that we're going to be in a good spot with that, and we're thinking that everybody will approve that. We'll make sure we let you know what happened at the next meeting. But wanted to share that information with you. And then there's been so much information that's been in the news or that's been flying around school districts around the state budget. I wanted to just share kind of some verbal updates, and Carrie has some really detailed information to share with you. But I thought you might be interested to know that Governor, the House, and the Senate, all three of those budgets, have been widely publicized. Of course, those budgets are going to wind up in committee, where through the usual political wrangling, the differences in the budgets will ultimately be resolved. Key parts of that process include in late May is the consensus revenue estimating conference. So that's where we'll really get a good idea in terms of how much money we're going to have. We know that there's a lot. After that happens, each chamber will kind of do a final passage of their budget. That will go to the governor. And then ultimately, we're expecting that something will be adopted in July, which would be good for us. You know, we know that there are times where that hasn't happened until October.
Lost it the 1st of July, but yeah, haven't been that in a long time.
Yeah, it would be very nice if we could, you know, if we could make it by that point in time. So, we're hopeful. That's what, our friends in the legislature are telling us is gonna happen. You know, the state's in a strong position when you look at, the general fund and the school aid fund. It's over $7 million. Carrie can probably tell you the exact number. I can't, but I know it's over. Billion, yeah. Oh, did I say million?
Yeah.
It's billion with a B.
Oh, my goodness.
There, you know, there's a lot of money there. Obviously, the budget proposals are different, and that's not a surprise. The governor's budget has a supplemental, which means there could be some hurry up and spend money this year if that happens. The House has a little tiny supplemental, and the Senate pushes everything to next year. Some interesting factoids about the budget. Even if all of the proposed programs were funded in a final budget, the school aid fund would have a $2 billion surplus projected at the end of next year. So that gives you an idea of the dollar amounts that we're talking about. It seems really strange to talk about there being all this money to spend when we're used to cut all the time. Some interesting tidbits about the budget, and that's really all they are, but I thought these things might pique your interest. The governor's budget is heavy in funds for at-risk students, mental health, special ed reimbursement, and some staff retention payments. We'll see what winds up happening with those things. The House budget, a unique thing about that is it has $1.7 billion to pay down unfunded retirement liability, which is an interesting thing, and that would be a gift that would keep on giving potentially. And the Senate has $500 million for school consolidation. So just some differences that are, you know, that are in the budgets. Some general thoughts, some things that school districts are, you know, trying to do in terms of influencing the budget process. We're really trying to encourage our lobbyists and our legislatures not to create bubbles, not to create things that are going to be funded for a short period of time, and then we get in that what do we do situation. You know, when you look at inflation at 8.5%, who knows what it's going to be the next time they throw a number at us. Even when you look at these big increases that are part of all three of the budgets in terms of the per pupil funding for our local districts, inflation is still going to probably outpace that. So that's just kind of an interesting thing to think about. And then the last one I wanted to share with you is there's some tax cuts that are proposed in some of the budgets. And obviously there's you know, some important elections happening in November, and so those tax cuts are, you know, part of the political process. One of the things school districts are really trying to encourage folks in Lansing is rather than doing a permanent cut, do a rebate. And then maybe when we get into a situation where there isn't all this federal money, then we still have access to that, you know, to that revenue stream. And I did hear some of our local legislature representatives saying that word earlier this week, which was nice to hear. So maybe there's some hope for that. You know, really the bottom line with the budget is we just want to make sure that these funds are used long term to support our young people, and we certainly have some need there. So I don't know if there's any questions, but that's kind of a quick update on the highlights. If you have super technical questions about it, I might have to ask Carrie, because she's been really busy crunching the numbers, and I know she put a really nice table together for you that's sitting in front of you. But that's just a little bit about the budget.
She still hasn't fixed the damn roads.
Well, there's some cones out.
And the price of fuel is going on our site.
$95.
And if there are no questions on the budget, the last thing I would just mention to the board is I've been asked by my colleagues to co-chair the MAISA Legislative Committee. That would start in the fall. And so I'm hoping that you're okay with me doing that. It would be a nice opportunity to represent ISDs like us and maybe get a little additional information and also advocate for our local school districts who I think sometimes are, they're not at the forefront because there's so much focus on our urban districts and our big suburban districts. So it'll mean a few more trips to Lansing than you'd be asked to approve, but I'm hoping that they'll let me do that. We'll try it for a year, see what happens. So that's it for me.
Do we have any communication?
None that I am aware of.
Any of the citizens present want to address the board? Seeing that, we will move on to our educational services update with Amy Taranko.
Good evening. Our report starts on page 18. And again, starting off with our professional learning. Want to highlight at our last principals meeting, it was definitely a joint effort between the special education department and my own department to meet with district administrative teams for 15 minutes and call it the PL Cafe. But it's the one opportunity we get to kind of have that uninterrupted dialogue about plans for next year, because we're at that time of year where you're ending the year but starting another one at the same time. So our book bus is coming very close to completion, but we're really appreciative to Bob, Rick, Jim, and Benny from our transportation department who have been working on that. There's some pictures on page 19 there of the inside. I wish they did home contracting because the quality of their work, I could use a few projects done around my house. But and just the ideas, they came the other day and said, what about if we put LED lights in there? Like they just have so many great ideas to make it better. So we're really appreciative to them and to the Mason County Eastern School District there. Right now, we're having the bus painted, the base coat in their transportation barn, which was great because we just couldn't accommodate that here. So we would have really run into some issues if they weren't so generous with that. So we're appreciative. We continue to have some book walks. We had two at the end of April there. You can see some pictures we lucked out with. It wasn't the warmest, but at least it was sunny and not rainy. And so there's just some pictures there, but we continue to have that be such a great community event in our counties. And then also Rachel Cahoon's class continues to help out by doing some of the legwork, artwork there for in between stations. The bottom of page 19, we had a recent GSRP advisory committee meeting, which again, that was formed 3 years ago with local representation of SUPS principals, finance directors, GSRP program directors, and then staff here from the ESD. And it's just been such a great collaborative group that helps us come up with recommendations and make decisions related to consistency among our GSRP programming. So at this meeting, it was really nice. We were able to talk about what to do with surplus funds and a pay increase versus figuring out what to do with a deficit. So we'll have another meeting in June to finish that work, and then you guys obviously will be hearing about some of that. So, along with GSRP, again, Brenda Bronco continues to apply for and receive additional grant funds related to our Connect for Learning GSRP curriculum. So every year she says, I don't know if we're going to get them, but I'm going to apply. And I think for the 3rd or 4th year running, they just keep giving us the money. So it's great for our classrooms to build then the additional resources around supporting that curriculum with units and books and things. And I also want to give kudos. She held a in-person professional learning on Friday, and the time and attention she took to setting up, celebrating, providing them with great learning experiences that I know they're going back to their districts and spreading to their children. It was really awesome. I'll have pictures next board meeting, but I know a lot of time and attention went into that, and I just am really appreciative. And you can tell the GSRP staff really appreciated it too. And then lastly, just have 2 contracts. One is for Jen Orton to have her available for up to 20 days next year. That's a decrease. She is starting to slowly phase out. She's been 40 days up till this year, but we still want to utilize her for that cognitive coaching. We're in the process of training. Jeannie Manier is going to take that over, but cognitive coaching requires a mentor kind of situation. So Jen's agreed to do that till we can hand that baton. And then lastly, Joe Anderson has been serving as the Baldwin RAG grant coordinator or facilitator. And that's due to end September 30th. And we had a contract for that, but their final evaluative meeting with the state was set for October. So we just need, she's got the time remaining in her contract. We just need to extend the end date of that till October so that she can assist in prepping and facilitating that meeting with the state. So, and if you have any questions, let me know.
I just on the GSRPPD on Friday, it was nice. I think, it was Staff Appreciation Week, and Tracy was able to work with Brenda and some other staff members to make sure that they got their staff appreciation breakfast sandwich at that PD, which sounds like a really small thing, but I think it was a nice gesture. People appreciated it. Just want to mention that.
Special ed Bill, I think you're up next on this.
Well, thank you, President
There's
Griner.
nobody else, no other questions for Amy, is that right? All right, okay. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Thank you, and I want to thank you, Mr. President, and the board for giving the Special Education Department the opportunity to see the presentation today and for being willing participants in the disability activity. And it gives you a little glimpse into the world of how the types of things, the important jobs that our staff does with students with disabilities. My report starts on page 20 and goes up to the top page of 22. Because we did spend some of your time on the presentation and the disabilities, the stimulation activity, I'm just going to say my report is here in writing, and I certainly entertain any questions that you may have on it. There's some good stuff in here.
Okay, I don't see any questions. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
And then we have, I think it's CTE report from Jane.
Dr. Jeffrey, are we going to do that with the car keys or is that not?
Yeah, it's set up already, ready?
Would you like me to do that?
That'd be awesome.
So we're going to show you a video from the Berlin Raceway of our mechatronics in our welding programs. We went to do this last Friday. So
Cool.
look at it.
Sorry.
So this is a collaboration of multiple CTC programs as part of the welding and mechatronics program. This is an event where we build all of our skills that we've worked on throughout the course of the year. And during that, the students are learning engineering, design, welding, problem solving is probably one of the biggest things that we do between the two classes. So this kind of is a culmination of a lot of our skills. We deal with electrical skills, we deal with CAD and design, we deal with machining and fabrication, we deal with a little bit of pneumatics and hydraulics through the brake systems of the cars, gear ratios in our drivetrains. All those are portions of mechatronics curriculum that we touch on at some level throughout the course of the year. Originally, when we started coming down to this event, started in 2011, we purchased a car from an Ohio public school system, Dayton Public Schools. It came literally on us in pallets and bushel baskets. When we did that, we had to figure out where all these components went, and that was a kit car that we built. After we built the kit car, we said enough of that, and we decided that we could build our own once we solved how the process and the race worked. We have this for about 10 years now. The first year we won one of the races of the 4 races that we participated in. It's in what we call the stock class, where we build the cars and they have to be less than $3,500. So we've done well in the stock class. The last year that we raced in 2019, right before COVID, the 211 car won all 4 races, which meant that we got to take the traveling trophy home that year. Our nemesis is the open class, where we haven't really done so well, and we're trying to figure that system out.
Right, so just wanted to highlight that event. There's a lot of things CTE students do. We think of them being on campus at West Shore or at the Rubicki Center, but there's a lot of times that we're getting students off campus, off-site, do field trips or do experiences like this, where it just really stretches their overall, I think, educational experience, and them thinking about how that applies to their lives and what they'll be doing after high school. So it's a great example when you heard Matt Scott, just to kind of highlight Matt Scott and Steve Banning are the teachers of that class, and just to highlight how those kinds of projects bring together a lot of like different learning objectives and goals for the class and make it real. So with that, I'll jump into the written, I guess, summary for CTE this month. Principal counselor work session, just to highlight some of the events we've been doing here. This has been a really big piece that we've been working on, is developing that communication with our local districts. There's a lot of great stuff that's been happening, but there's a lot of opportunities for growth. And we talked about, I think the last meeting I mentioned, the missed days that students are out, and also common instructional time. And in this report, you can see some of the details of some bigger things that we found out there. And then the cool part is that districts are committed to doing some work in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And then we're going to come back together and identify some solutions moving forward. So this is meant to be an ongoing conversation. We're not expecting that we're going to come out with, we're going to solve all the dilemmas that we're facing with student, work time at CTE. But this is a good start, and we're going to keep this conversation going. Also want to thank Chad Ripple, who's here today, and I know we're going to mention him. I think he'll be mentioned in another report. But he actually helped us with this and really helped us to pull a lot of really good data. And we had a work session where we actually pulled data live, where we had school districts getting in and doing activities that the data was going into a system that they could see and use to make decisions and have discussions. So it was really a great experience. And also Jossie Teskey and Shelby Hughes were a big part of that event. There's been a lot going on, so I'm going to try to hit these things quickly. You see the written report, but just the visits to the programs, the Agri-Science Orchard. So they put up an orchard, which is amazing. The Allenwood Advisory, just getting all the advisories on campus and meeting together in the spring. We've had clinicals going for Allied Health, so they've been in a local nursing home actually doing their clinicals. We have 2 students who are going to get the Breaking Traditions Award, which is this Thursday, so I'll be traveling to Lansing to support them as they receive that award. And our numbers right now, as we look at this upcoming year, we actually have 570 students enrolled. There's a lot of things that when we think about CTE enrollment, there's a lot of dropping and adding, so that's a very preliminary number. A lot of students in the spring when they're making their enrollments aren't thinking as seriously as maybe we'd like them to be thinking about what they're going to do in the fall. I actually had one of my daughter's friends who will remain anonymous, who told me she just told the counselor what they wanted to hear so she could get out of the office. So, so it happens that they're just, they're processing a lot. They're trying to make decisions, and I guess what I'm getting at is they sometimes make a choice to say, this is what I think I might want to do right now, but there can be a lot of question marks around that, so those things change. So we'll see how those numbers fall out later. Student council news, they're doing a lot of great things this spring. And then we have ASM, the ASM Tech graduations coming up here. And one of the things I wanted to also talk about with ASM Tech is we're asking for a request to increase Cindy Erickson's contract. There's been an added, she had to add duties to her role at CTE, and this really addresses those added duties that the adjustment that needs to be made. Are there any questions regarding CTE?
I didn't catch what powers the vehicles.
They are solar powered.
Solar
Yeah,
power.
and they have a battery that charges.
Bobby drizzly day.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool to see. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
The video was actually shot by SCN Communications, who we have the communication contract with. And they just took it upon themselves to do that, and it was really nice when that showed up.
Is that available through our website or a link or something, or is that?
Yeah, we wanted you to see it first, and it will be on the website by the end of the week. I know it's already on the list. So.
Great.
When you get all your buses electrified, then I'll consider you accept.
Okay.
That's our next project at CTE.
Just like I
Is electrify all the buses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to do that for $3,900 though.
Yeah.
You guys would save a little bit of money. We can do that.
That's the grid fell down.
Thank you, Jamie. We have a motion, response to that presentation regarding Cynthia Erickson's contract adjustment.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Moved by Shirley with Ellen support to approve the contract adjustment as presented. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we have Gary's business office update.
So on the bus electrification, you guys obviously haven't talked to Trina Morris lately because she would fill your ears about the electrical bus stuff. That's another story. She's on it. I don't have any exciting video or hearing or vision impaired, but maybe this is vision impaired, this big schedule you have in front of you for practicing your vision. So Dr. J had already mentioned the variations in the three proposals, the governor's versus the House versus the Senate. What this information is analyzing those three current proposals and their impacts on our local districts, the top section, the impact to West Shore ESD is the bottom section. So you can see the green is the governor's, yellow is the House, blue is the Senate. If you look at the far right-hand column or columns, there's a total. So as Dr. J mentioned, there's a lot of disparity between all three of these proposals. And so this just kind of gives you a flavor for a side-by-side analysis of the three proposals. Where it's going to land, it's hard to say. There will be, negotiations relative to it. I think the couple of big points, though, is, that there still is a strong commitment, at least the impact on our region, looking at really all three of the proposals. So, we stand to gain at least $3 million regionally based upon these proposals. So let's hope that we end on the more positive receiving end of things. But we won't know that until likely, as Dr. J said, the May 20th Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference. Word on the street is that the estimates from January, that the May estimates are going to exceed it. By how much, we don't know, but the revenues at the state level supposedly have been coming in pretty strong still for the last 4 months. So likely to be more money to, divvy out. So yeah, so just giving you a little flavor for what it would look like for us. The primary impact for West Shore ESD between the governor's proposal and the House is 31N. You can see for both of those proposals on the far left that the House and Senate, the 31N isn't included. So we obviously are strong proponents of 31N in our region and are hopeful that at least that comes along. So if you have the chance to advocate for those resources, that would be great. And as Dr. J also said, word on the street also is that they're really trying to have a state budget prior to summer break, which would be wonderful, because it helps us and our local districts plan a little bit sooner rather than waiting until, the witching hour of September 30th, when school has already started, right? So also in page 25 is my report. So collaborative business services contracts, these are in process in our local school districts. We have 4 districts that we provide direct business services to. They're all listed there. The contracts haven't changed significantly, with the exception of Walkerville. You remember Walkerville's was a half a year because we started mid-year, so this is a full year contract for Walkerville. And then lastly, Josh, his report is on page 26. Josh is really pleased to announce that all of the E-rate applications have been completed and fully funded. You can see those listed in his report. They really do have a big impact on our technology within our region. And I know it takes him and his staff a lot of extra time applying for those funds, but they're well needed funds. And then page 27 is Josh's fishing report. Not to be confused with, big water lake fishing, but technology fishing report. Any questions?
Seeing none, thank you, Carrie. And we have a couple of motions after that. I'll start with 4 of them to approve the contract with Hart, the business services for them.
I'll make that motion.
Sure.
Motion by Irma with Jim's support to approve the contract for Hart's business services. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have one for Mason County Eastern.
I better make that motion. Take it easy, Jim. I'll support it. Thank you.
But you don't live there.
That's true.
Irma did live in there, right? So anyway, that's okay. Motion by Mark with support of Jim to approve the Mason County Eastern contract. Any discussion further? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Now, Pentwater, contract with Pentwater to be.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Motion by Shirley with Ella's support to approve the contract with Pentwater. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, Walkervilles. Might be alphabetical, aren't they?
I'll make that motion for Walker.
Support.
Motion by Irma with Mark's support to approve Walkerville's contract. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Tammy, update us on our people.
All right, Mr. Greiner. The human resources report starts on page 28. We still have one job posting out there for a bus mechanic. We are recommending a hire for Susan Giblin, school psychologist. Sue comes to us from Alaska. She's been both a general ed and a special ed teacher, and the last 6 years she's been there in Alaska as a nationally certified school psychologist. She's relocating back to Michigan to be near family.
She is well traveled.
She is. And Mr. Mueller shared some information on page 20 about her and a picture as well in his report. And then I'm going to turn it over to Jamie to introduce our next hire.
All right. Well, I would just say thank you to Tammy. Commented just on how great it was to work with her in the interview process, and just her support for all of us in this process has been really great. And so we teamed up together and we interviewed a number of candidates, 4 candidates, and Chad Griffel was our top candidate, and we're recommending him for the Dean of Students Assistant Principal position. So Chad, Very excited. Okay.
I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. Thanks for being here.
Non-employment contracts are the two contracts that Amy referenced in her report. Joe Anderson for the RAG facilitator. No change in number of hours or days and no additional funds expended for that one. And I do have a correction on Jen Orton's information. I made a typo. Her contract expiration date should be June 30, 2023 instead of 22, so I apologize for that. And then a couple resignations. These are both GSRP associate teachers, Alicia England and Diana Ocha. That concludes the human resources report.
Thank you, Tammy. Any questions for Tammy? Seeing none. Thank you, Tammy. We'll move to the superintendent's recommendations.
A couple hiring recommendations for you, and as everybody knows, we are a people business, and it is really important that we add people. So very excited to bring Susan Giblin before you for hopefully for your approval, so she can come here and practice her talents as a school psychologist and maybe share a salmon fishing tip or two.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's why she's coming.
I'll take that as a,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
take that as a motion. Is there support for the salmon fishing motion?
I'll make myself.
Surely, okay. Ellen and Shirley have moved to hire Susan Giblin as their school psychologist. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, thanks for that. Sorry, Vince, I didn't mean to interrupt. Okay, was just excited to bring Chad before you. I think everybody knows Chad. And, we are super fortunate, super excited to have him join Jamie over there. I don't know who's going to be Batman, who's going to be Robin, but we're looking for Batman.
And I would be happy to make that motion.
Local boy makes good.
We have a motion by Shirley with Ellen's support to hire Chad Ripple as our Dean of Students. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
And I have to interrupt right here just for a moment because I realize that I did not include a motion to approve the two employment contracts as presented. We didn't for what were included in it.
Oh.
Yep, for Jen and I.
Joe Anderson and Jen Orton?
Yes. My apologies.
Nice catch.
Yes.
So we, that was in the presentation,
Mhm.
trying to think what the specifics are. What, could you rattle those off to us?
Yeah.
First, Joe Anderson, I guess.
Joe Anderson, it was just to extend the date of the contract, no additional time needed. And for Jen Orton, it was 20 days, not to exceed
So first-
$8,000.
For Joe Anderson, the motion would be to extend her contract to October 31.
Yeah, it typically we'll just to approve the employment contracts as presented, because they're included in the HR report.
Okay.
You want to do them both together? or
We
separate?
typically do.
Okay.
I'll support. Okay.
We got a combined motion with Irma's support. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And thanks for catching that, Tracy. So,
Good eye.
Great catch. My apologies, it wasn't in there.
And I think that's all I'm seeing. I think we don't have anything else. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll support.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Very good.
Just a meeting guide. And don't forget, in June, 2 board meetings in June, everyone. This is our month, so we'll have one on the 7th and then on the 21st. So, 2.
Oh, Tuesdays.
Yep.
Good to see everyone.
Thanks, Kathy.
Vince, I'd just like to take a minute to thank everyone for their cards and prayers and let you know how much I really appreciated all the support you